The Blue Jackets are out of the playoffs, but the Monsters are still well in the chase. We're going to talk about that today and look ahead to tomorrow's game for the Blue Jackets against the St. Louis Blues on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to bring you news, stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms. We are over on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed over there, please feel free to do so. It helps me out. It helps you out. Everybody wins. You can click the little bell button underneath this video and you will get notifications when new episodes go live. So that's very exciting, in my opinion. Today, we are going to be talking about the Cleveland Monsters for the most part, but I wanted to just start off by doing a little bit of a rundown on tomorrow night's game for the Blue Jackets, because it feels like it's been a million years since they played. It hasn't. It's been like 4, but in the NHL, 4 days feels like a million years. They're playing the St. Louis Blues for the second time this season. They lost their first attempt. It was a 5-2 win for the Blues way back in October. It was like the second or third game of the season. I feel like back when, we still had hope and dreams and all of that good stuff. The Blues have kind of fallen off a little bit this season. They are not nearly as good as they were supposed to be. They are not in the kind of lottery talk yet, but they are at the bottom of the Central. They are in conversation for a top 10 draft pick, which is unexpected. I think is probably the best way to say that. They have some good players that have been performing well. For example, Jordan Kyrou has had a real kind of come out season. He's at 58 points. Pavel Buchnevich, who they got from the Rangers last season, has 56 points. Robert Thomas has 55 points. They have guys. Could they use some help on defense? Almost definitely. But they did trade Ryan O'Reilly, and they traded Vladimir Tarasenko near the deadline. So that does imply that they are kind of rebuilding on the fly. They were kind of rumored to be in for the Timo Meier deal, which seems suspicious because I don't know why you would sell a bunch of old contracts just to get a brand new big contract, but whatever. In terms of the Blues, Pavel Buchnevich has 11 points in his last 5 games, 8 assists, and 3 goals. The goaltending has been subpar, I will say. Jordan Binnington has an .894 save percentage and a 22, 23, and 5 record. Thomas Greiss is performing a little better with a .900 save percentage and a 6 and 8 record. But needless to say, the goaltending, which I feel like used to be a strength for the Blues, has just not been there. So you hate to see it. You really do. I have no strong feelings one way or the other about the Blues. I would like to win tonight's game, but I don't know how likely that is. The Blues, like I said, they're not a bottom feeder team like, the Sharks, who the Blue Jackets are going to play on Tuesday, but they are not the powerhouse that they were, a couple of seasons ago, where they went from the bottom of the standings all the way to the Stanley Cup. They're probably not making the playoffs. I don't know what the West is like at the minute. It's kind of a mess, but I would not be surprised to see them miss the playoffs. They are, I believe, 24th or 25th in the league right now. So, stranger things have happened, but in terms of team stats, they are 22nd on the power play and 20th on the penalty kill. Both of those are better than the Blue Jackets, but not by much. The Blue Jackets have managed to climb up to 26th on the power play, which is very exciting for me. They have a dead-on 50% face-off win, which is better than the Blue Jackets. They score more goals per game, and they allow fewer goals per game, but only just. They allow 3.66 per game. Blue Jackets allow 3.72. Again, the Blue Jackets have managed to crawl out of the basement in a lot of these. They are 29th in goals for and goals against per game, but I will take that over the kind of 31st, 32nd that they have been hovering at all season. For the Blue Jackets, Patrik Laine is definitely a guy to watch. He's got 3 goals in his last 5 games. Everyone else, apparently, like the guy leading assists for the last 5 games is Erik Gudbranson with 2. So it's not great out here. Johnny Gaudreau still leading the way in points. He's got 55. Patrik Laine has 43. He's really he's on a heater at the minute. 43 points in 49 games. Obviously, he's missed a bunch of time due to injury this season, but it's really great to see him picking up. And he hit 20 goals. So will he hit 30? There's an outside chance, I think. There's 20 games left. So if he scores a goal every other game, that's a 30-goal season for Patrik Laine. So I feel pretty confident about that. Boone Jenner is a goal away from 20. Kirill Marchenko is 4 goals away from 20. So, there are things to like about what's happening. It's just not on defense. Apart from Adam Boquist, who continues to succeed, in my opinion. He's got 18 points in 31 games. All of those, I believe, have come since returning from that second injury. So he missed, he played 3 games and then left and then got hurt and then came back. So I feel like 18 points in, I want to say 25 games or something. So that's, good to see on a team that has, again, struggled with offense from the defense basically all season since losing Wolansky very early on. Wolansky had 8 points in 13 games until he got hurt, so it's tough out there. Elvis continues to improve, I think. He still only has 7 wins on the season, which feels very bad. But he looked good against the Penguins until he left injury. I don't know what the situation is going to be in terms of who's starting tomorrow. I'd like to think that having those 4 days off has probably been good for him in terms of, getting better for recovering from this illness, but we just don't know. I would not be surprised to see Michael Hutchinson, but it would make me a little bit nervous. In terms of predictions, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like every time I predict a win, I get told, actually, this is wrong. But I also don't want to predict a loss. So I'm going to predict that Johnny Gaudreau opens the scoring for reasons of, I feel like it's been a minute since he scored a goal. So I would like to see that. I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to go with a 5-3 Blue Jackets win. Why? Who's to say? I think there's going to be an empty netter in there, but you know what? If I keep predicting, then eventually I'm going to get it right, So that's my predictions. That's my preview for the game tomorrow. In a minute, we are going to talk about the Cleveland Monsters. Like I said at the top of the show, they are well in the mix for a playoff spot. Unlike the Blue Jackets, who continue to sit 32nd in the league. But hey, Bedard, right? So we're going to talk about the Monsters in just a minute. First, I've got to tell you all about FanDuel because it's America's #1 sportsbook. If you are a new customer to FanDuel, don't worry because you are going to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That means that if you place money on your first bet and you don't win, you will get that back in bonus bets to try again. So that's really awesome. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, it's super easy to use. You can bet anything from money line to point scorers, and you can combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So that means that if you bet on the Blue Jackets to win tomorrow night and you also bet on Johnny Gaudreau scoring a goal, you will make more money with a same game parlay than you would placing 2 separate bets. So that's something really cool that FanDuel does. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That is FanDuel.com/locked-on. To learn more, make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA and also us, the Locked On Podcast Network. Let's talk Monsters, because, like I said, the Monsters have massively improved from last season, where they were just terrible, and they had a big win. As the Blue Jackets were ruining their 4-0 lead over the Penguins, the Monsters came out to a 3-0 lead over the Griffins. and finally would end up winning 4-1. You got Jiricek, who is down there, I believe, on a conditioning stint. Then you can I believe he's down there on a conditioning stint right now, so he will be back soon. But great to see him performing for the Monsters. He, I believe, had one game at the start of the season with the Monsters, and then ended up getting called up and staying. Also, really great to see Roman Ashan with a multi-point game. Trey Fix Wolansky also had a multi-point game before Owen Sillinger added an empty net goal at the end to secure the win. Really big win. Daniil Tarasov has returned from injury, which is great to see. Really, really good. Good news for the Monsters and good news for the Blue Jackets as well. So he made 26 saves for the win, and I would expect to see a lot from Daniil Tarasov as we get down the stretch. In terms of the Monsters in general, like I said, they've been doing pretty well. They currently sit 1 point or 2 points out of playoff contention. They are on a 1-game win streak. They beat the Grand Rapids Griffins. The game previous to that, they lost to the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Then they beat them in overtime before losing to the Syracuse Crunch. That is the games in March. They are, like I said, currently sitting, I believe, 2 points out of playoff contention. The Rocket just lost a game, which does help. And the Senators won a game, which does not help. The Monsters are at the bottom of the North Division, but only 1 point, 2 points behind Laval. They play their next game is Saturday. They're playing the Grand Rapids Griffins again, and then again on Thursday before taking on the Senators for 2 games in a row. So that is 4 games coming up where they are extremely winnable games. Like there is a lot of points to be gained from those 4 games. I feel like. Before they have to go face the Marlies, which I mean the Marlies are just unreal this season. They are, I believe, still 15 or now 17 points ahead of their second place competition, you know? So I'm just not even going to worry about the Marlies, but I think those games against the Senators are extremely winnable. I think the games against the Griffins are extremely winnable. So big 8 points to be got there, and hopefully the Monsters can pull it out. They are 2 games in hand over the Senators and 1 game in hand over the Laval Rocket. And then after that, they are 3 points behind Rochester Americans, who are 4th in the division. So there is literally 3 points between 4th place and 7th place. So, you know, it really is beyond like the first seed, which I feel like they haven't officially locked it up yet, the Marlies, but they're going to get there. Like, it's kind of anyone's game. There is, in fact, 8 points total between the Utica Comets in second place and the Monsters in 7th. So I'm not worried. I feel like saying, "Oh, they're at the bottom of the division. Everything is bad. This is terrible." That's not like I'm not worried. It's such a tight division, and it's still, you know, there's still a lot of hockey to be played. And honestly, I think the Monsters can go in and take a playoff spot. And then, you know, like I've said it a bunch of times, all you have to do is make the playoffs. I think getting Daniil Tarasov back is a huge help. I think getting Chinikov for a boost is a huge help. And I believe the Blue Jackets sent Cole Sillinger down as a paper transaction on deadline day. So he is going to be eligible for the playoffs for the Monsters when the Blue Jackets season is done. The Monsters season finishes April 16th. The Blue Jackets season finishes a little before that, I believe. I don't have the schedule to hand, but I probably should. The point here is that they are probably going to pick up Kirill Marchenko, I believe, will probably go down as well. And maybe Tim Burney also. I don't remember all of the paper transactions that happened on deadline day, but the Monsters, should they make the playoffs, will be getting some reinforcements. The Blue Jackets finish their season on April 14th. So they can go down for like a game and then the playoffs will start if they should make them. I feel pretty good about that chance. In a minute, we're going to just look in on some of the big names for the Monsters who's having a good season, who had a good week. Things like That's coming up in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. So the Monsters, like I said, they are having a much better season than they were last season. Trey Fix Wolansky continues to lead the way. He's got 60 points in 48 games. He's fourth in the league in scoring, 8 points behind TJ Tynan, who is sitting at the top for the scoring lead. Other guys, I think, we've talked a lot about David Jiricek, who continues to impress. He's got 30 points in 39 games as an 18-year-old, as a rookie, as a defenseman in this league. I don't know. Let's see where he's sitting in terms of rookie scorers. He is not in the top 20 in terms of rookie scorers, but if we go to defensemen, he's fourth, behind Poirier for the Wranglers, Lucas Cormier in Henderson, and Riker Evans in Coachella Valley. But none of those guys are 18 years old, so I feel pretty good about how Jiricek is doing. Like I said, 30 points in 39 games. He continues to impress, and I'm so excited for him to have his full rookie season next season for the Blue Jackets. Jiricek, by the way, is leading all Monsters defensemen. Jake Christensen is in second with 26. He's having a pretty good season, but not as good as last season. I think he's had kind of a down season, but Justin Richards, who signed his entry-level contract, he's got 33 points in 46 games. Josh Dunn has 31 points in 52 after a really down season last year. Emil Bemstrom, who will probably finish out the season with the Blue Jackets, has 31 points. They might see him for the playoffs. And the biggest surprise for me, or not the biggest surprise, but the biggest kind of pleasant realization, Owen Sillinger, who is the older brother of Cole Sillinger, has 29 points in 55 games for his rookie season. He's killing it. He scored against the Griffins, and he has just kind of been overall great for this team. I think he's been a really smart, nice addition. Will he make it up to the Blue Jackets level? I'm not sure, but I do think he's going to be a really good player for Cleveland in the meantime. They have a lot of rookies this season. Samuel Konasco, I suspect will probably be in Cleveland next year, but he's another really good piece. Roman Ashan has kind of taken a step back, but I'm not mad. I'm not surprised. He was on a really hot streak, but he is he's a really good depth piece. Is the thing there? The Monsters have a lot of really good pieces, and honestly, I think if they get into the playoffs, they're going to surprise a lot of teams. They just have to get there. Like I said, getting Tarasov back will definitely help. Jet Greaves has been doing what he can. He is currently has an 891 save percentage. None of the goalies have really been as good as they've needed to, but Tarasov especially, I think, has had some struggles. Jet Greaves has played the most games by far. Him and Pavel Chayan have kind of been holding it down. With Tarasov back, I would expect Tarasov to play the bulk of the games coming into this last stretch of the season, and hopefully he will kind of recover that form that he had towards the end of last season and the form that he has had for the Blue Jackets this season. So, like I said, Monsters, exciting. It's all going to be, I feel like the playoffs for the North Division are not going to be set until like the last couple of games of the season. So, very, very exciting. Definitely going to be paying attention to the Monsters as they go down the stretch, because it's, like I said, it's going to be way more exciting than the Blue Jackets. And that's kind of all I've got for today. On Monday, we will break down the Saturday night game against the Blues. We will check in again with how the injury news is coming, because the Blue Jackets continue to get healthier, and we'll maybe do a little bit of a mailbag as well if we so choose. But I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the podcast at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms. You can Find us on YouTube. You can find us on Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of those. Hit subscribe on YouTube, hit the little bell button, and you'll get notified when all new episodes go live. If you have already done this, I appreciate you. If you're planning on doing this, I appreciate you. If you haven't decided yet, I still appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your day. Hopefully, it is less rainy than it is here in Northern California. And until Monday, make sure you stay locked on.